Consider, if you will, a force of nature not listed among the winds or the tides. A current that flows not through the external world, but through the very architecture of the human soul. It is a silent, decisive power, one that can compel a person to dismantle, in a startlingly brief period, the intricate life they have spent years, perhaps decades, constructing. This is not a story of mere impulse or fleeting desire. It is the manifestation of something far older, a whisper from the deep past that can drown out the shouted logic of the present. The pioneering explorers of the human psyche, those who first charted the continents of the unconscious, encountered this phenomenon not as a theory, but as a recurring, formidable reality. They observed a paradox at the heart of human connection, particularly within the feminine experience, a paradox where conscious affection and biological imperative could diverge with seismic force. This is an exploration of that archaic power, a power that does not negate love, but can, under certain conditions, override it. A power that can make devotion and departure exist in the same heart, separated only by the triggering of a hidden switch. It explains why individuals of profound intelligence and integrity can sometimes enact choices that appear, from every rational angle, to be acts of self-sabotage. Why the offering of total surrender, of a world built entirely to another's specification, can sometimes erode attraction, while a presence marked by unshakable internal purpose can exert a magnetic, irresistible pull. This is not a commentary on morality, but a map of a specific, deep strata of human motivation. It is a mechanism etched not by personal experience alone, but by the countless generations that came before, a kind of psychic DNA concerned with one primordial objective: enduring legacy. To comprehend this, we must step out of the modern frame. Our contemporary world speaks the language of compatibility, of shared values, of emotional partnership as the highest goal. These are the languages of the conscious, social self. But beneath that self lies an older stratum, a substrate of the psyche that speaks a more ancient, urgent tongue. This substrate was forged in a different world, a world of raw scarcity, of tangible physical threat, where the survival of offspring was the central, driving drama of existence. In that world, traits like resilience, decisive strength, protective capacity, and the ability to navigate chaos and secure resources were not merely attractive. They were the difference between a lineage continuing or vanishing. The unconscious mind, in its profound, impersonal wisdom, became attuned to signals of these traits. It developed a silent, powerful responsiveness to them, a responsiveness that operates not on the level of thought, but on the level of instinctual recognition and chemical reaction. This creates the central dissonance of modern relational life. A person may consciously, sincerely believe they seek peace, kindness, stability, and transparent emotional availability. They may articulate this beautifully and build a life with a partner who exemplifies these virtues. And yet, when this deeper stratum is activated, often by biological rhythms, by life transitions, or by an encounter with someone who embodies those archaic signals, the conscious checklist can become irrelevant. The pull is toward a different energy. Where conscious values seek calm, the archaic impulse might be stirred by a display of unshakable calm in the face of chaos, which reads not as blandness, but as formidable strength. Where the conscious mind seeks reliability, the deeper impulse might be ignited by a confident, purpose-driven unpredictability that signals adaptive intelligence. The attraction is not to chaos for its own sake, but to the perceived strength to master chaos. The individual experiencing this does not think, "My genetic imperative is activating." They feel rearranged. They report a sense of not recognizing themselves, of being driven by a compulsion that feels alien, yet overpoweringly authentic. Decisions are made that fracture their own self-narrative. The counsel of loved ones, which once carried weight, now sounds faint and foolish, like chatter from a distant room. Plans and promises that formed the bedrock of their identity suddenly feel like costumes they can no longer wear. This is not a failure of character. It is the character being temporarily usurped by a more ancient, impersonal script. The conscious self, the one that made vows and built a home, is not in the director's chair during this shift. It is an audience member, watching in bewildered horror as the play takes an unexpected, catastrophic turn. The most profound insight from depth psychology is this. This instinctual program operates on a track separate from the capacity for love, gratitude, and cherished memory. One can hold genuine love and deep appreciation for a partner, can recall every moment of tenderness, every shared victory, and simultaneously feel this subterranean tug toward a presence that symbolizes something else entirely. Love is of the personal unconscious and the conscious heart. It is biographical, woven from shared stories, vulnerabilities, and mutual support. It grows like a great tree, season by season. This other force is of the collective, impersonal unconscious. It does not grow, it activates. It is less like a tree and more like a lightning strike. It does not patiently intertwine with love. It can, in an instant, supercharge the atmosphere around a different pole. When this activation occurs, it initiates a process of profound internal recalibration. Perception itself is rewritten. The steady, reliable love of a devoted partner can begin to feel, not comforting, but confining, a symbol of a life that now seems devoid of the vital, challenging energy the psyche is suddenly craving. Past conflicts, long resolved, are resurrected and amplified into foundational betrayals. The brain, under the influence of this powerful neurochemical shift, begins a silent campaign of devaluation. It systematically dims the lights on the existing life, making it appear dull, stagnant, and false, while casting a brilliant, almost holy light on the new object of attraction, making it seem luminous, fated, and real. This is the cruel genius of the instinct. It disguises itself as the voice of ultimate truth. It feels not like being controlled, but like finally waking up. The person believes they have discovered their authentic self, when in fact they are being driven by the most authentic impersonal self, the self that is part of the species, not just the individual. This recalibration is powered by a biochemistry far more acute than the soothing chemistry of secure attachment. When the archaic switch is flipped, the brain does not release a gentle wave of oxytocin, the bonding chemical. It unleashes a storm of dopamine, the neurotransmitter of intense wanting, seeking, and craving. It is the chemical of the hunt, of the quest, of focused desire. Norepinephrine sharpens attention to a razor's edge, making the target of attraction appear in hypervivid detail, while the rest of the world blurs. Adrenaline floods the system, creating a state of high arousal and readiness for action. This trio creates a state of immersive, compulsive focus. It is the same biochemical suite that drives fundamental survival behaviors. This is why logic becomes powerless. Lists of pros and cons disintegrate. Years of shared history can lose all weight against the overwhelming present tense of this biochemical imperative. The promise of fulfilling this deep, ancient directive, the securing of a potent, resilient legacy, outranks every modern promise of comfort and security in the brain's reward calculus. Thus, we witness the seemingly incomprehensible choices, the stable life abandoned for turbulence, the safe harbor left for the open, stormy sea. From the outside, it appears as madness or malice. From the inside, it feels like destiny, like necessity, like finally breathing real air. This is the core of the paradox. The surrender of a partner, while an act of profound love in the conscious realm, can be read as a weakness in the archaic lexicon. If he surrenders his own purpose, his own internal center of gravity to her, what strength does he truly possess to meet an external world of challenge? Conversely, a person, man or woman, who is anchored in their own purpose, who possesses an unshakable internal framework and moves through the world with calm, assured agency, projects the very signals that the ancient psyche interprets as leadership and protective capacity. It is not about being withholding or cruel. It is about the palpable presence of an inner fortress, a self-contained sovereignty. To the archaic layer of the mind, this signals the ultimate utility, an alliance with strength, a partnership with someone who can not only survive the storms of existence, but navigate them with authority. This understanding leads not to manipulation, but to a sobering and ultimately respectful clarity. For the individual susceptible to these powerful undercurrents, the task becomes one of integration and discernment. It is learning to distinguish between a pull toward genuine, integrated strength and a pull toward the mere theater of strength, which often manifests as toxicity, narcissism, or chaos for its own sake. It is about creating a dialogue between the deep self and the conscious self, ensuring one does not tyrannize the other. For the partner, it is an invitation to understand that deep, enduring attraction often lives in a different neighborhood than love. Love can be given. Deep attraction must be earned and maintained, not through constant accommodation, but through the consistent demonstration of one's own strength, purpose, and integrity. It is about becoming a person of substance, not just of service, a rock in the river, not a leaf carried by its current. This is not a call to emotional absence, but to emotional stability, a calm, grounded presence that is not destabilized by every shifting wind of emotion in the relationship. The revelation from the depths of psychology is this: we are not unitary beings. We are ecosystems. Within us live the modern individual with their hopes and plans, and also the ancient, timeless entity with its imperatives for survival and legacy. To be in a profound relationship is to engage with this entire ecosystem. It is the greatest and most challenging of human adventures, requiring not just the soft skills of empathy, but the forged strengths of character, self-knowledge, and the courage to face the powerful, sometimes terrifying, currents that flow within us all. This journey into the layers of the self is vast and ongoing. What you've just read is a single map of a particular territory. If this exploration of the unseen forces that shape our deepest choices resonated with you, if it sparked a moment of recognition or curiosity, then your engagement is what allows this conversation to continue. Subscribe to this channel. By subscribing, you do more than get notifications. You join a community dedicated to looking beneath the surface of things. You tell the algorithm that content with depth, that seeks to unravel complexity rather than simplify it, has value. Help us build this space. The tension between these forces, the conscious architecture of our lives, and the ancient, sometimes disruptive, wisdom of the unconscious, is the source of our greatest dramas and our most profound transformations. When the deeper current rises, it doesn't just alter desire. It rewrites our personal history and narrows our vision of the future to a single, compelling point. Our past is reinterpreted by this new, ruthless internal editor. Moments of quiet contentment are recast as evidence of a sleeping soul. Minor grievances are elevated to the status of fundamental crimes. The narrative of our life is taken apart and reassembled into a story where we were always lost, always compromising, and are now, finally, on the verge of finding our truth. This narrative feels unassailably real because it is authored by the most potent chemicals of conviction. Simultaneously, our view of the future collapses into a tunnel. Ambitions, community ties, personal projects, the rich tapestry of a multi-threaded life, fades to gray. The only source of color and meaning becomes the possibility represented by this new axis of attraction. The mind filters all information through a single, brutal filter. Does this bring me closer to that source of awakening, or does it hold me back? Friends who express concern become jailers of the old world. Responsibilities become shackles. The object of this pull, despite any objective flaws or dangers, is bathed in a light of destiny. Their unavailability becomes a test of worth. Their volatility becomes passion. Their potential to disrupt becomes the very essence of vitality that the previous life lacked. Attempting to combat this undertow with pure reason is an exercise in profound frustration. One can know, with crystalline intellectual clarity, that the path is perilous. One can enumerate 100 logical, ethical, and practical reasons to turn away. And yet, the individual may find themselves orchestrating chance meetings, imbuing the slightest gesture with cosmic significance, and constructing elaborate defenses of the new attraction to worried loved ones. This is the signature of the internal civil war, the modern, reasoning brain stating facts, and the ancient, limbic brain, awash in dopamine and adrenaline, issuing a single, pounding command. This is the way. The ancient brain speaks in the language of sensation, a heat in the chest, a tightening of the breath, a feeling of fate that resonates in the bones. It is a language older than civilization, older than morality, older than the very concept of the individual self. It is the pure, undistilled urge of life seeking what it perceives as the optimal path for its own continuation. This framework illuminates the ultimate, painful enigma: why individuals are sometimes drawn into alliances that are manifestly unstable, inequitable, or even harmful, while turning away from partnerships that offer demonstrable devotion, peace, and mutual growth. The devoted partner may activate the systems for bonding and attachment. The other partner, if they project the key signals of primal resilience and self-contained power, may trigger the far more visceral system for what the unconscious perceives as strategic alliance for legacy. In a cold, ancient arithmetic, a brief but potent connection with a source of perceived high resilience could be coded as a superior strategic move for the unconscious goal of robust offspring, compared to a long, stable connection with a source perceived as less resilient. The modern self rebels at this calculus. The ancient wiring does not calculate, it simply reacts. So, what embodies these key signals in a way that is integrated and healthy, rather than pathological? It is not about a performance of dominance or a checklist of traits. It is ultimately about embodied sovereignty. It is a calm that is not easily shattered, a purpose that is not negotiable for mere approval, a strength that is quiet and inherent, not loud and demanding, a boundary that is firm, not brittle. It is the aura of an individual who is the author of their own life, whose psychological and emotional center is self-defined and impregnable to external chaos. To the archaic layer of the psyche, this signals the highest utility: a leader, a protector, a source of unwavering strength in a world that is, at its core, uncertain. In the presence of such embodied sovereignty, the constant need for external reassurance often quiets. It is replaced by a different, more profound form of attraction, a pull toward that solidity, that unshakable ground. This understanding fosters not cynicism, but a profound realism about the complexities of the human heart. It is an invitation to a higher level of consciousness in our relationships. For the person who feels these powerful undercurrents, it is a call to radical self-honesty and discernment. It is asking, am I being pulled toward true strength or toward a shadow of strength? Am I confusing drama for vitality and control for power? It means developing the wisdom to let the deep self inform, but not tyrannize, the choices of the conscious self. For the partner, it is a call to cultivate a strength that is authentic and integrative. It is the journey from being a source of validation to becoming a source of inspiration. It is about building a life of such compelling purpose, integrity, and internal solidity that your partner's deepest self recognizes and chooses to ally with that strength day after day. It is about offering not just your love, but your worthiness as a fellow traveler on a difficult journey. It is the difference between saying, I need you, and embodying, I am capable and I choose you. The legacy of this psychological discovery is a humbling one. We are far more than our conscious intentions. We are vessels for histories we did not write, carrying imperatives we did not choose. Within the heart, especially one tuned by millennia of specific pressures, moves a power that can nurture a world with fierce tenderness or dissolve it in a fire of primordial necessity. To love deeply, to build something meant to last, is to dance consciously with this power. It is to acknowledge the deep, dark river that flows beneath the garden, and to build not in ignorance of it, but with a respectful understanding of its tides. This is the great challenge, the great work, and the ultimate mystery of connection. We have only begun to scratch the surface of this immense topic. The human psyche holds endless such chambers, from the shadow aspects of the masculine principle to the archetypal dramas that shape our collective stories. If this deep dive into the interplay of ancient impulses and modern love has ignited a spark of understanding, a question, a resonance, a need to see the patterns more clearly, then you are already participating in the most important work, the work of self-knowledge. Share this exploration with someone else on that path. Like this if it provided a piece of the puzzle you've been searching for. These actions are signals in the digital wilderness that there is a hunger for substance, for content that dares to grapple with the full complexity of what it means to be human. Let's build that signal together. And now, the most vital part, your voice. Comment below. What aspect of this resonated most powerfully with you? Have you witnessed this internal dichotomy in your own life or in the lives of those close to you? Do you see it as a terrifying force of nature or a crucial, if challenging, source of truth? The conversation in the comments is where theory meets the messy, beautiful reality of lived experience. Your story, your perspective, your question is an essential thread in this larger tapestry. Don't let this be a monologue. Make it a dialogue. The journey into understanding these depths is one we must undertake with curiosity, courage, and conversation. Let's begin.